this week we saw shipping the new Copilot+ PCs. So this was started today, I think, or yesterday. It was what are we today? The 18th? I think it was today, actually. They started shipping today. So they have shipped without one of their flagship features. That is the recall feature. Remember, we've talked about this on the show here before. This is the feature that screenshots everything you do on the laptop and uses an AI, you prompt an AI model to search those images. So it basically uses kind of like, the way that this kind of works, I guess, is it takes all those images, it puts them into, apparently on the back end, it puts them into a SQLite database, and uses OCR, takes all that data, puts them in a SQLite database, also in plain text, which is
that's what SQLite is.
The reason why this isn't shipping, it is a security issue.
Yeah.
It is a massive security issue. It's now a coming soon feature, and my guess is they're going to have some kind of security local on this to stop this just being hacked, because it's going to be hacked almost instantly.
I think people already showed some examples of like a bunch of hackers already found a bunch of issues already. And so I was going to make a joke. It's when they announced it, I think a bunch of people switched to Linux and they saw the numbers dip. So they're like, oh no, we gotta check this out.
I don't think this feature sees the light of day.
Oh, you don't think it happens at all?
I think it will happen. Some people will be convenience over, 1984 possible case happening.
It doesn't really solve a problem, though, that we can't solve already.
The only place I see it is maybe integrated into Microsoft Family Safety, and you use it on your child's device. Like, that's the only scenario that I see it, like,
but how much
being
you have to lock it down,
as.
though, to do that, though? We have to really lock it down, though, right? It can't be in its current form, because that's just opening your kid up to data issues, right?
Yeah, but I don't care about that.
I think if it
convenience over security, right?
Right. Like, I'd rather have insight into what they're doing than and get reporting. Like I said, like, it would need to be incorporated into Microsoft Family Safety, because I'm already getting like reporting on, browser history, and I can set time limits and things like that. So if I'm getting screenshots that are able to be like,
a lot of
aggregated.
Searched, really, more than anything.
Aggregated,
searchable,
where like it can notify me if it's got like questionable content, and I set the content like, okay, anything that's violence or sex or anything like that, like I want to be notified of that. That's like really the only place I can see this being successful.
Well, so we already have policies and things like that, even at the corporate level, that it can control what the PC can install and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, what is this thing really going to do other than they put an AI buzzword on it?
This is like actually a good point, though, like for what you just mentioned, because I remember working on a company, this was a long time ago, but they were using Windows 7 because it was an insurance company. And then like for them to be able to install newer Windows, they had to go through this whole security process to guarantee that the data is going to be secured to the company. Right. And so a feature like this, especially if it's not that something happens automatically, some companies will be like, well, we don't want our sensitive data to be like indexed by the software because the stuff or the type of stuff that we work on. But for me, it's like plain and simple from the standpoint. It's like, hey, if you're going to create a feature that's going to screenshot everything I do every second, I'm just going to be like, thanks for letting me know you're not a secure system for me to use. So I'm going to use Windows only for games, like anything work related or stuff like that, that I need to have like private, because you have like documents for your clients and your business that you like, I don't want this to get out. You're going to try to create a secure system. For instance, for my work computer, we have a service that basically does something like this. It's on my Mac, but it's mandated by my company so they could see like that that our system are protected from leaking customer data or sensitive data. And in that context makes sense. But in terms of like me having my family desktop computer, why do I need a service like that? Unless it's for a company to collect data. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, look, I could rewind back, like, my history. Like, who cares? It's like Microsoft cares.
I don't need it for myself, but like as like an IT manager or something, like I could see it being helpful on like employee computers and things like that. But again, I don't need it reporting back to Microsoft. I just need to report it back to
right.
me.
The thing I think it's going to take up like 20 or 200 gigs of space, and you fill your laptop with all these snapshots on, then it's in SQLite, which isn't a database. It's a misnomer.
They have said this takes images every few seconds.
Yeah,
so you imagine that it's got to get big soon.
Yeah.
So
I imagine it's some kind of rolling limit that it has. Right. So it's kind of like Time Machine on a Mac, which just takes like a snapshot of your system. It's not getting a picture of a screen or anything. It's like it's a backup system, right? So it's taking a backup of your ongoing, and it uses like a set space, and all it does is it rolls over, so the new saves roll over the old saves. So I'm guessing this has an infinite amount of like history it can even go back to, which means is it even useful?
It's not.
Here's the thing, though. This is the moment that I'm waiting for somebody to be in court, and someone's like, you have built a nuclear dirty bomb. No, I didn't. And then they play your whole history of you starting to learn about nuclear like physics, blah, 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 how to build, like where to source the material. And literally like they just have that in court. And for me, like, yeah, like I'm sure nobody wants to be a criminal and whatever, but it's like we're playing like this game where like at some point we need to have some sort of security. So before like all of these technologies, you had like a wider like private area for you to be who you are. And now I feel like the only private space is my closet, because of all the stuff I have in my house. It's like even doing this podcast, like, the thing that I have in the back is like, what question were you asking? I wasn't quite clear. I'm like, shut up. I'm like doing my thing. It's like they're always listening. They're always communicating with each other. But another thing that a lot of people have to understand, like, and I think like we won't be able to opt out of it, but all the newer devices, I forgot what the thing like chip has. It's not Bluetooth, but maybe it is Bluetooth, like whatever, but it basically allows any device to communicate to any other device. And so you could have, it's similar to what AirTags do. And so like they communicate with iPhones nearby. And the fact is like, you can't even disable that feature. I don't think.
It's like a mesh network. They want to make a mesh network.
Right. And so all devices are now connected like a mesh network. What freaked me out, and like, I'm okay with it now. But my Amazon thing that I have, even when it's not connected to Wi-Fi, it could still communicate with other local devices in the area because of the way the system's laid. Like, again, the mesh network. And so I think we're pushing this, system of convenience and data. And I'm sure they're collecting data. Maybe the data is anonymous, maybe whatever. But we are at a point where going backwards, like, I think it'll be like impossible. And I think people just have to be okay with it, because I don't know what else you're going to do. And people that are really, are paranoid. I forgot the guy's name. He's on like YouTube. He talks about de-Googling your phone and removing all this stuff so you could have like a fully private phone. And he talks about like other things. And to me, like, obviously it's not worth it because like, I don't care. But at the same time, it's like, we didn't give permission for them to be able to have this much power to collect data. Like, I'm not. So
did you know the on button and the off button on a Samsung television in the off, if you enable voice, the computer, the TV turns off, but it's not off.
Yeah.
Still
and then
listening.
people can connect to that television from the street.
Right.
And so it has a camera or whatever, a voice. It can record every conversation they're having. And you shouldn't have that in your house. Like, that shouldn't be allowed to be made.
Yeah.
But it is made, and that's the problem with Samsung.
This is where we are. Convenience over security. We're there,
and people don't realize that that's like really bad.
Yeah, I will say. So there's a couple of kind of related to this. There's a couple of Black Mirror episodes everyone should watch related to this. Definitely, there's a couple. There is one called Crocodile, which relates to this, and there's one called The Entire History of You. Both relate to recording information. They're done in a slightly more futuristic way, but this is the path to that. Please go watch those episodes and you'll realize, oh yeah, that's a bad thing. If you know anything about Black Mirror, they never end well. And they definitely do not end well.
And if you want, I hate to recommend other podcasts, but Darknet Diaries is another one that you can go read about real things that are just like, and how, I don't know, the last week's was about Anom, which is an encrypted phone, end-to-end encrypted phone, but it had a backdoor in it because the founder of the phone company that made this encrypted phone was the FBI, and they sold the phone to criminals, and they could read the messages, and they thought they're
genius.
They think they're going encrypted to encrypted when they're not. It's just like bizarro land, and we think like, hey, I trust the government. I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. Okay. until we're not. So like
pulling my boomer hat on. Remember the movie The Net?
Yeah.
Where
great movie.
There's the like everybody buys into this like security software that has this like backdoor built in so that they can get in and out of the banks, the government, like everything. Yep. And like, I mean, that was back in the 90s. So
and now it's recall on a Windows
reality.
laptop.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's every Windows. I remember complaining about Windows 10 and all their features that did all the listening and stuff like that. And what's crazy, you could disable them, but they literally make your Windows inoperable. So it's like no point. And I like how they just keep going farther and farther. And this idea of like screenshotting your computer every second, like when you say it out loud, it sounds so stupid.
Who approved that in the meeting? You're going to do what?
Yeah,
like,
ridiculous.
How many screenshots would that be after 3 months?
I love
would
like
that make the
so
computer?
many,
really
so
slow,
dude.
Many.
It's insane.
So
but it's got AI on it.
I'm sure we're all adults here, and there's a population of the world, including the politicians, who consume not safe for work stuff on their Windows 11 computer. That's hilarious to me.
But I'm just saying, for me, it's like the settings are in like, there's already a registry. We already know we have to repair the registry. Wait till you have to repair your recall. Like, it's just,
Actually, I'm guessing. So I'm guessing the recall thing, in order to save space, I don't know technically how this works, but I'm guessing it maybe doesn't even save the screenshots, because what it does is take the screenshots, it uses some kind of OCR to put it into context, feeds that into an AI. So maybe there's something there for that. I don't know.
Well, because
again,
it's a JSON file at the end of the day, like for SQLite. So I would imagine they're converting it to text, which will save space eventually.
Right.
There's
still.
like already like a lot of like hackers who take Windows and they talk about like de-bloating Windows. So they remove some of this like features to make your Windows instance like less bloated. So I wonder if some hackers would be like, well, they already have the system. Like, let me make a patch that makes all the images blurry that it records, like completely killing the whole thing. But like, I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to try to kind of be like, this is not a good use of your time, and we don't want to share our data. So I wonder if they're going to create things to break it just for people that want to, because you can't.
The more likely thing is that they would insert an image into recall and then make recall put the setting they want on it. I think that's what it's doing. I think that's why someone reverted it and gave themselves admin privileges to a Windows laptop instantaneously by looking at a JSON file that's in clear text and saying, okay, let's run recall and just change the setting right there, and like, boom, you own the PC at that point. And you could do that with a rootkit or anything like that. I mean, this is a terrible idea. I don't think it'll ever see the light of day.
As soon as you get access to that PC, you have access to all that data. So all of your banking information, because it's taken those screenshots, everything you've ever done on the machine is there, including all your security stuff. So everything's there in that plain text file. It's really silly.
I'm going to create a script that's going to spin up, like, I'm going to use like one of those things that you're able to spin up like an instance of your OS. I forgot what they're called. Like
virtual machine?
Yeah, virtual machine. Exactly. I'm going to create a thing which has a snapshot of all the apps that I use. And then it will just, every time I need to boot up, it'll just boot up the new instance of that virtual environment. I can do whatever the hell I want. And then when I shut it off, it'll just going to boom, erase everything. And then that's it. And that's like how, like, it's
called Parallels on Mac. That's what you need.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
So let me ask you this final question then before we move on. Yep. Anybody going to be buying one of these new PCs?
No.
Never.
I got Linux installed just because I freaked out too early. Like, so I'm literally using my Windows PC for games and video editing because like I have like the better GPU there. Because even on my MacBook Pro 2, it's not that bad, but it does help when you're working with like 4K footage. And so I just use it for gaming and video editing. Anything else that I need, I have my Mac and then I have Linux.
I am exclusively PC. I love my Lenovo's and stuff, but I'm only not buying anything because I like recently, maybe like less than a year ago, bought a new laptop. So
okay, but would you buy one of these?
Not for that feature. Like if it was time for me to buy a new laptop and it happened to have it, like, and it's the Lenovo, it's the ThinkPad, it's the X1.
They're all buying into it,
Like, I'm sure it's going to be included, but I would not buy something just for that feature.
I think they're not going to roll it out. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
already
agree.
been hacked. Someone had and they showed them, and they're like, well, "We can't fix that. Let's just."
You
not.
think they're incapable of securing it then?
Yeah.
So
It's
here's the thing.
like,
I feel like they're going to create a service under the hood that does the same thing,
Maybe.
but they're not going to
Yeah.
tell
and
anybody.
send it to Azure, and then just
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that would be if it went to Azure, that would be a real problem because this right now stays all on device.
they
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Until it
like I
doesn't.
said,
Dude.
if it's part of Microsoft Family Safety, like I can buy into that. Like I would like buy my kid a laptop that had it because of that feature.
Yeah, but if you can just insert something in a recall file and then run recall to give yourself admin privileges, crazy. Your PC
Sure, if my kid's smart enough to do that.
No, I'm talking about someone else is way smart enough to do
Right.
That's like,
They're not doing anything, on
Yeah.
their computer that I'd be concerned about.
But I was going to say, if you go on YouTube and you type, I forgot my password, but I don't have any of the original stuff. How do I log back into my computer? There's plenty of videos with hacks that you could do. And I actually tried one hack, which was like surprised that it worked. I was like, Jesus, there goes all my security for my Windows. Granted, that was Windows 10. So I'm hoping that Windows 11 doesn't have that vulnerability, but there's
Sure,
always,
it still does.
I'm sure it does
Did you have
too.
an
So many
8-character
people.
password or a 15-character password?
So I don't remember what my password was, but here's the way I fooled it. Basically, when you log in your computer, it asks you for your password, but they have a little accessibility button, like if you're hearing impaired.
Right.
So what I did is I did this hack, which basically, like you still have to log into Windows in the terminal, but you don't have to log in into actual Windows. And you rename a bunch of files. And so you rename that accessibility button. Instead of open the accessibility tools, it'll open password change window. And so without logging in, you click that button and it just says, please provide a new password. You just put in your new password and boom. And so I actually left that hack open because I'm known to forget my password, like for my computer. But the fact that it was that easy blew my mind. Like I'm not a hacker, and like I just followed the YouTube video and I'm hoping Windows 11 doesn't have that.
That means
but
someone else can
it's
follow
hilarious.
a YouTube video that is a
Right.
hacker. I mean, like it's just
There's always going to be
There's
a
always.
vulnerability.
but
Yeah.
don't make it easier.
Well,
It's
sure.
just to make it harder.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like,
I just still we're talking about all these good points, but I still can't get past it's going to take a screenshot of your computer every second.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that means?
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
do you understand?
yes, yes,
it
I
doesn't
do.
turn off when you decide to you Google not safe for it, but it takes
Right.
everything. And where does it go?
yeah.
I like the also part. It's local. That's like what they always say
Right.
as
Until
a
it's not.
stepping stone. But some of the
I
things we do
swear.
have to offload to Azure because it takes computational. It's like, and what happens then? Well, we send part of your data. It's like, yeah.
Or
it's like,
you run backups, and you back it up to your whatever, your OneDrive, which is on Azure, and then suddenly they're looking at those backup files.